Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's award-winning podcast, as voted by Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and listeners. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, listen back to all our previous episodes, sit back, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome back to Gardening with Ben for a new episode today. Well, today it's Saturday and wow, it's certainly been a different change of day compared to yesterday. Yesterday were absolutely awful down at the allotment. It was raining, it was miserable, it was cold, it was wet, it was just awful yesterday down at the allotment. But today it's been a decent day. It's been coolish, but I've had 2 hoodies on and it's kept me warm, and the other thing is I've kept busy, so that's a good sign, and that keeps you warm most definitely. Well, first off, I've had a nice message from one of the people that listen on my podcasts. They were just saying how much they've been binge listening to the podcast and how much they've enjoyed it, so thank you for that message. And also they did laugh at the comment about me talking about my plot neighbour tasting my plums. It still made me laugh, that one. So yeah, today has been one of the busiest days that I've spent down on the allotment. And if you don't follow me on YouTube, make sure you check it out, Gardening with Ben on YouTube, and you'll be able to see my allotment video from today. I'm going to start sharing allotment videos of what I'm getting up to down at the plot, so that people can see in person exactly what I'm doing, to be honest, because it's okay talking about it on the podcast, but people do like visual as well a lot of the time. So make sure you go and check that out. That's been uploaded just now and it's about 8 minutes long, so it's not massively long. And you can just see what I've been getting up to down at the plot and how it's all progressing. But today has been very, very busy. I got there for about 9:30 and I left about 2 o'clock. And there's still loads more to do. As I've mentioned, I managed to dig over all my beds in March. That was my March's task to do. And I mean, February, I'm losing track of months now. But my jobs for March is to do all the maintenance on the plot, which means rebuilding beds, tidying them up, making any repairs to fencing, and just getting it all back in ship shape, looking good, ready for April, because in April it's going to be a month of painting. Now, I don't think it'll take a full month to paint, but I do absolutely hate painting them, but hopefully we can get it all painted and get it all looking good. But the more things I build out of wood, the more it will need painting. But you never know, we'll hopefully get it all sorted come May time, when I'm starting to plant stuff outside once the frost is gone. I've set myself these tasks so that it's all manageable jobs to do and I'm not pushing myself too much in getting stuff done. And what we have been up to today, we have been, first off, we repaired my polytunnel. As I've mentioned, it had a massive split down the side of it, and splits tend to appear on polytunnels where they originally folded it because it's a lot weaker and it will easily split on them lines, on them creases where they folded it. So it was a case of having to order some polytunnel tape, which set me back about $7.99, which isn't bad compared to a new polytunnel cover. So I ordered some of that, and the reason why I go for the polytunnel tape is because it's waterproof, it's strong, it lasts, and it does its job. Just don't use any normal sellotape or brown tape or duct tape. Use the proper polytunnel tape and it will last you a couple of years, at least a season, so at least it will hold the polytunnel strong together for the year to come, and hopefully for a few more years. And you never know, we might buy a new polytunnel cover next year. We'll see if it holds. While ever I can save money and not having to replace it, the better, really, because they do set you back a lot of money. And admittedly, I've had this one 10 to 12 years, so it's done a fantastic job. I can't believe how long it's lasted, to be honest. Every single year I say to myself, I'm going to have to end up replacing it soon. It's going to come off, it's going to rip or something like that, and it's lasted everything longer. But yeah, it's going to last another year at least, so we'll get another year out of it, and hopefully I'll be growing absolutely loads in there. I've just had delivery today of some watermelon seeds, and yesterday I had some cantaloupe seeds delivered, so I'm going to be doing a lot of melons this year, so make sure you stay tuned to my YouTube videos, because I will be documenting it and showing how well they get on. And hopefully you'll be able to see how well the watermelons grow. Whether we'll get some on it, that's another question, but we'll give it a good try and a good shot and see how it gets on. So what else have we been up to? Well, we did the polytunnel cover first, and then I planted my Victoria plum trees. I had a look at the trees, and they'd been soaking for 48 hours in a bucket of water, because they've been stood in the supermarket for months now, and they'd reduced them from £7 to £2.66, so I couldn't resist a bargain. I am one person that cannot resist the bargains. If I see one, I will buy it. However many trees I've got on my plot, I will still buy new stuff all the time. I'm dangerous, I really am. But we've got 2 new Victoria plum trees planted. I've got 1 Victoria plum tree already, and it does absolutely fantastic. It's been in 16 years now, and it just, the amount of fruit I got off it last year was unbelievable. I really cannot believe how many plums I got off it. And so yeah, I thought I'd invest in a couple more, and obviously buying 2 helps with pollination and stuff like that, so it really does help. And I'd bought 4, 2 for my neighbour and 2 for me, so I planted them 2 today on the plot. I'm going to be giving them a good drink of water over the year to come, so that they do take root really well and that they settle into the ground. I just have to make sure they grow straight, because a couple of my trees I've done in the past, they've not grown straight. But they're still standing and they still get fruit on them, so that's the main thing. So we've got them to do, what we've done. And after that, I then planted my Longoceria on my plot, which again had been soaking for 48 hours. These had been reduced to 90 pence instead of £2, and I thought, I don't know if they'll grow or not, it's worth a try. Again, they've been sat in these plastic bags in a box, so they've not had any water for the last few weeks, so whether they're alive or not is another question. But we've had them to soak for 48 hours, and I did have a look at them today before I planted them, and they had got little green shoots on them, so that is a good sign that they are still alive and they're still growing. So hopefully they will take root and start growing on my allotment, because the Longoceria that I purchased, it's a nice pink colour, so it will look absolutely beautiful on my plot and add some fantastic colour to it, and hopefully attract the bees, because that is my vision this year, to have so many bees on my plot. I just want the bees to be living on my allotment and say, no, we're not going to anybody else's plot, we're going to gardening with Ben's. But yeah, we got all them planted. Then we went on to starting a new flower bed. Now this is a new flower bed in front of my shed, which I've never grown anything there before, but I want to make the most of the space I've got and get as much out of it as possible on the allotment and make use of the space. It's okay having this black membrane down to stop the weeds, but if you're not going to grow anything in it, it can be a bit disappointing really. So I'm trying to make use of a lot more space and grow a lot more things on my plot. So we've planted another 100 summer bulbs, the same packet as what I planted the other day. I purchased 2 packets of them, so I've planted 100 bulbs in this flower bed. I will still be planting other flowers in there. I just wanted to put the summer bulbs in today so that they're in the ground and ready, and then I've put a big fresh layer of compost on top, filled all this flower bed up with compost, and giving it a new lease of life, to be honest. So in the entrance of my plot, it's going to look absolutely fantastic once it's all flowering, and once it's all growing, it's going to look unbelievable. I just can't wait for that day, and I'm just hoping Mr. Squirrel doesn't go and pinch them all, or Mr. Rat. Yes, I've seen a massive rat on my plot today, absolutely massive, but hopefully he won't do too much damage. He did some damage last year. He was digging all over the place and creating holes and bringing all the soil into my polytunnel and compost into my shed. He did cause a big mess, but hopefully he stops making a mess this year, but we'll see. We might have to catch him. But yeah, we've done that. And then, now that I've done that, I've been busy starting all my maintenance work on my plot. And by maintenance, I mean I've got some raised beds what were starting to rot, the wood had enough, and it's certainly not going very well. So I got delivered a massive load of wood last year from one of my followers, and he gave me so much wood. I'm one of these people that if somebody says that they've got wood, I will take it, literally. I definitely like to collect wood on my allotment, and I do make use of it. I'm definitely making use of it. I don't waste it whatsoever. It's something that always comes in handy, and he gave me a load of decking, and obviously I've been making all my shelving on my plot, in my shed and everything out of all this wood. And also I've used some of that to repair my raised beds, and then all the offcuts I've started putting down the sides of my plot. I've got my borders, but then I've got no wood separating my plot to my neighbour's plot, so I've started creating edging out of all that, and as I get more I'll continue and finish off down all of the plot, and hopefully that will make it look nicer. And again, it will all need painting. I'll have to keep it all painted, but as it will last a few years, and then as it rots away, then I can replace it, and etc, etc. People are always giving wood away, so there's always plenty to replace it with. So I've got quite a lot of stuff to do, and I've managed to do all the entrance to my plot. I've done all the edging around there, and next up tomorrow will be sorting out maintenance in my rhubarb patch. I'm going to be giving them a nice feed in the morning, and then I've got to sort out all the edging down around my rhubarb, and it's just had black membrane down for the last few years. I've never grown anything between mine and my neighbour's plot. I've got some autumn raspberries, but they're on my entrance, but I've got nothing in the middle of my plot, so I'm going to look at putting flowers in there as well. I'm trying to make use of every little bit of space and make as much use of it as possible. So this year is going to be one hell of a year. I've put so much effort into the work done on my plot this year. Hopefully next winter I can just sit back and hibernate. But we'll see. There's always stuff to do on the allotment, but the more building stuff that I do this year, the less I'll have to do next year, because it'll all be done and all be completed, and it'll be a case of just ticking it over every single year and doing any repairs that are needed to be done. But I really am enjoying it down at the plot this year, and obviously I can spend a lot of time down at the allotment. I work 4 shifts on, 4 shifts off, so I get 4 days down at the allotment, and at the moment I'm getting down there for about 9:30, but as the days get earlier and lighter, I'll be down there when it gets warmer at 6:30 in the morning, and I'll be down there until dinner time and still at least, so I'll be spending longer down there. I prefer to go early in the morning and then relax for the rest of the day. So yeah, there's so much that we have got to do down there, but I'm on track. I've still got all my seeds to plant, but I don't start them sowing until end of March, middle of March, because it's a lot colder up north obviously, so I'm a bit behind people down south. So we've got all that to do, and that should take a few days to do, to sow all my seeds. But once we've got all them sown, again, then we can get back to doing the work on the plot and getting it all ready, and before all them start growing, and I'll have to pot them all up and everything. But we're on track. I'm pleased with how it's all coming along, and it's the encouragement I get from the followers that makes me do it. And I just love sharing my story with everybody, and I'm pleased that so many people are enjoying it, because it does make me smile, the messages I do receive from people. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, somebody had messaged me to say how much they'd enjoyed it and how much they were binge listening to them all. There's certainly a lot of episodes to binge listen to if you are new to the podcast, but make sure you do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, and you get notified as well when a new podcast is uploaded. So we'll keep these going, and yeah, make sure you do check out my YouTube videos. If you're not following me on YouTube, check out Gardening with Ben, and you'll be able to watch all my YouTube videos as well as listening to my podcasts, and you'll be able to see my face rather than just hear my voice. Lucky you. But yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Make the most of this weather as much as possible while it is nice. Again, like we said, we've not had a bad winter. Yes, we've had the wind, but we've not had the snow, which it can be for weeks, and stop you from doing work for weeks. So make the most of this weather. Who knows what March is going to bring? It could bring snow later on in the month, but yeah, make the most of it and get them jobs done out in the garden and the allotment. Now is the time to be preparing, ready for springtime. So I hope you have a good one. As always, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcasts. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts. Feel free to share them on your Instagram stories so that it spreads the word about my podcast and we get lots more listeners. Feel free to check out my social media sites, Facebook and Instagram as well, Gardening with Ben, and also my YouTube channel, to stay up to date with all my handy videos, how-to videos, and sharing my tips and advice. And feel free to check the link as well in the description for my Gardening with Ben t-shirts. Lots of funny gardening design t-shirts in there for you to purchase at great prices too. So thanks again, and as always, remember, keep smiling and keep gardening.